All right, I think we can start. It's 2 minutes late, so I'll start to have it on time, like exactly on the dot. But I was just doing a little bit of preparation on researching the market a little bit since last night. So we are going to be talking a lot about some news that may actually shape up some trading ideas, and we will focus on some news to actually make money from it. Okay, so that is the most important thing. So with that, I want to also share a little bit. But before that, I want to thank everyone for attending my webinar. This is the Monday's webinar on the 24th of March, 2021. And we'll have it every Mondays, every Wednesdays, and Fridays. So Monday is your week ahead outlook. I'll share a little bit on news, on what's going on in the market, and also pairs. Sorry, today is Wednesday. So Mondays ones are for the week ahead, but Wednesdays is midweek. So midweek meaning we will be talking a little bit about how your trades has actually been, and then to look into troubleshooting as well, but also look into the news today of what could actually shape out the next couple of days for trading. Okay, so we'll do that. And in the meantime, if you guys have got any questions, feel free, you can ask. Let me just very quickly go on to the live streaming, so I can actually live stream it as well. Give me a second. Not sure how to do that now, but give me a second. Okay, just give me a second, guys. All right, I'll probably do that later on. It's okay. Okay, it's a little lost on that side of it, but it's all right. Let's get to trading, and let's look into some news first. Let's just meantime give you a little bit of what's happening in the economic calendar, but I just want to inform you guys about what has actually been going on. Okay, so last week, maybe you guys have realized that via the news as well, we had a little bit of an attack towards China by Europe and the US, with a lot of geopolitical genocide related things, accusations by the US and all that, because that actually sparked off from the meeting. I think they had a meeting somewhere, I'm not sure where exactly. They had a meeting between the US and China, and then they came into some geopolitical conflict, and US accusing China of something, genocide or something like that, a lot of other things as well. And that basically sparked some heat between them. And that is why you see that the Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar have actually fallen quite a lot, mainly because it's correlated. It's quite connected between what happens in China and what may actually happen in Australia and New Zealand. So Australia and New Zealand, they are like brother sisters. So wherever Australia goes, if Australian dollar is strong, then New Zealand dollar will be strong. If Australian dollar falls, then New Zealand dollar falls. But then Australia, as the big brother, follows the economic situation and interest rate decisions of China, actually, because Australia is the biggest trading partner of China. So whatever Australia produces underground, like copper, and copper is actually very rare now. They are expecting copper to actually diminish, basically have no supply of it, in many years to come, but then not very many years for the manufacturers, okay, because copper is used in manufacturing, electrical goods, and various other things. So Australia produces all this copper, and the copper and other minerals as well are actually sold to the US. So US is their biggest, to China, and China is their biggest buyer. And what happens is that when the raw materials, copper and other minerals arrive in China, they basically use it and produce goods with it. And the finished products that are made with these materials or minerals from Australia is sold back again to Australia as finished product. So this has actually been going on a large scale for many years. So Australia is actually very highly dependent on China for their manufacturing of goods and services and various other things. Okay, so that is basically why we have actually seen some fall of the Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar. So in the forex market, basically we can use news like this to combine it with technical analysis so that we can actually make money from trading. So we can make a better forecast of certain pairs, certain forex pairs, certain currencies, in order for us to actually predict it a little bit better, a little bit more accurately, in order for us to use all these news as a fuel to move the market, whether or not it will fall a lot or rise a lot. This is called volatility. So the volatility is the lifeblood of forex trading. So when we have a lot of volatility fueled by news and things that goes on, it impacts certain currencies and currency pairs. Then if we choose that currency pairs, then we would actually be into the trend of that currency pair. And with that, it usually helps us traders to actually make a little bit more consistent profits and lessen our risk if we know that we are picking the right pair to trade for the day. Okay, so this is basically how it works with news, and that's why it's really important for us to understand and pick the right news so that we can pick the right pairs. Not all the news are going to be relevant for us. So what I will be sharing with you guys on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are actually news that are going to be useful for you to actually pick the right pair to trade to make money consistently in Forex. Okay, so that is the main outcome that I wish I want to have consistently every time I actually conduct the webinars. So here, for example, those are things that are more geopolitical connected that I've mentioned earlier on as well. The other thing as well is apart from that conflict between US and China that has driven a lot of price downwards for Australia and New Zealand, we also are in the week where we talk a lot about what to expect more of the US dollar. So there'll still be a lot of trading decisions revolving around the US dollar as well, because they're talking about oil. Oil is actually going down at the moment. Gold and copper also going down. So what is happening at this week until next week, most probably, is a risk on environment, not a risk off environment. Risk on meaning that people and traders, investors are going to have more risk appetite. Okay, so that means they are going to be buying more the dollar. They're going to be buying all the other currencies except for Japanese yen and CHF. And also gold, because the Japanese yen, the CHF is your Swiss franc in Switzerland. Okay, the Japanese yen, the Swiss franc, and also gold, they are called safe havens. When something happens in the world, when there is a lot of conflict and they are not feeling safe, they will actually be buying gold, JPY, which is a Japanese yen, and the CHF, which is a Swiss franc. So you will see that these pairs that are concerning the JPY, the CHF, and gold itself will actually rise when people are feeling fearful. Okay, so at the moment, that is why gold went up a little bit when we had that conflict between US and China. But then now it's sort of settled down a little bit. So then gold is going back down. But then we've got a lot of investors and traders are actually using some positivity from Biden and from the coronavirus situation. So the coronavirus situation at this moment of time, let's say if we talk about the US, it's important to look at the coronavirus situation in the US, so that we know whether or not the US dollar will be stronger and whether or not gold will actually fall, because you've got an inverse correlation between gold and USD. So if USD is driven by positive news in the US, that means high chances gold would actually be depreciating in price. So with the coronavirus situation, we need to also look at the vaccination at this moment of time. Okay, so vaccination at the moment stands at about 45 million people has been fully vaccinated in the US. Now, in the US, they have just elected the new president, right? So the president has got all these confidence and listed down all the things that he will do. So at the moment, he has actually put out a target that he wants the country, the US, to actually release 600 million doses of vaccination to be prepared by May. So if we watch the news, and the news actually gives us a lot of positivity that Biden is doing a good job, vaccination is getting good, all these kind of news would actually be positively taken by investors and traders, that will actually make the US dollar a lot stronger. Okay, so that is the trend side of it. Whether or not to go and buy the US dollar now and all that, no, that comes in the second stage of us going into the technical analysis to measure where we need to enter, where we need to exit, what are the stop losses following your risk appetite as well. That comes under the second stage of analyzing the market and making that financial decision. So now we're not yet at that stage. We are at the trend stage to find where the trend would actually go. So here, it looks like the US dollar would actually be stronger and stronger. Okay, and we know that that would actually be a rough trend with all the USD pairs or major pairs. Okay, so we are looking at USD buying opportunity, of course, with all this news that is going on. With that, in the coronavirus side of it, we want to also look at the UK. Now, UK last week and all that was not very positive with all the coronavirus cases and their plans and things like that. There were a lot of issues in that side of it. Now, but couple of days ago, as well as today, things are becoming a little bit positive because the European partners are coming in to help out the UK with vaccination and stuff like that. So this is going to be positive again, because now we are in COVID times. Now, in COVID times, the news that we digest as traders are going to be very different. So it will be COVID related news, vaccination, whether or not the government is positive with vaccination, all that can strengthen or weaken the currencies. So before that, we never had that kind of news or that kind of happening before Corona. Before Corona, it was maybe natural disaster as well, economic crisis, and all that. But now we are in COVID time. So COVID is another factor now that could actually move the entire market upwards or downwards. Okay, and that basically means that it will give us a lot of trending opportunity, whether it is downside or upside. Now, that's the wonders of Forex. Forex trading, you can actually rely on very, very bad news or very, very good news. Now, very, very good news in a country will drive the currency up. Then you want to buy. The more it goes up, the more you make money if you are on the buy. On the sell side, basically, if something falls and then it falls, it's expected to fall more and more, and you have clicked the sell button, the more it falls, the more money you make. Okay, so this is basically the predictive or speculative side of Forex trading, is that you can speculate both directions, but you have to be at the right side of the market. That is why it's very important for us to understand at this time, today, let's say Wednesday, the 24th of March, what's happening in the middle of the week, what kind of news would actually help us pick what kind of pair, so that we can actually pick the right pair correctly in order for us to write the trend correctly. If we write the trend correctly, we click the buy and the sell button correctly following the trend, then we are most likely going to win in the market. Okay, as simple as that, right? But then it's not that easy sometimes, because a lot of traders would actually be ending up doing their own things sometimes, because they would rely on technicals or EAs and things like that. But what we want to do is we want to combine the technical and the fundamental. Whatever that I'm talking about now is called fundamental analysis, which comes with news and geopolitics and economics and all that. When I have not shown you the charts or the candlesticks and the lines and all that, that means we're talking about fundamental analysis. Once I've gone into the charts and we start drawing and you look at all the candlesticks going up, going down, and all that kind of stuff, that's called technical analysis. Okay, so we want to always do a little bit of fundamental first in order for us to understand where we are at today. So today, on top of the news I've actually mentioned, I've mentioned about UK. I want to talk a little bit about oil. Now, the lockdown in Europe and all that does actually impact oil, and oil has got two types, right? You've got the WTI and you've got Brent. Brent comes from the UK, and WTI, it stands for World Texas Instrument. So that comes from the US and the Texas Houston side of it. So oil coming from Houston, Texas, WTI is on the downside at the moment, and it's impacted by the lockdown in Europe. Okay, the reason is because the largest buyers for the US oil WTI is actually Europe side of it. So when I was living in Scotland before, Scotland in Aberdeen was actually known as the capital oil of Europe. Okay, so that is where all the import export barrels exchanges as well. They produce themselves as well, but then not to a large scale compared to the ones in the States. Okay, so you do have European buyers as well, and the European buyers, they buy and they resell as well. So hence the reason the oil prices are still on the downside. When we talk about gold and copper as well, it is falling at this moment of time, and it's got loads of reasons for that. But one of the reasons why gold is falling is because of the plans that US has, and it's also got to do with the positivity of the coronavirus situation and its economy and Biden mainly. And when you've got a new president, usually the first 3 months to 6 months, it's usually positive for especially for the States, and that is because the new president has to prove what he has promised the entire nation or even the entire world, what he would actually do to bring the States up, up to standard with the economy and up to standard with the health situation, health programs and everything else, COVID and everything else. Okay, so there you go. That's on the news side of it, all right? Now, I want to actually then bring you to something we call a heat map. Okay, a heat map will give you a little bit of an idea of what I've talked about earlier on. It's your fundamental analysis, your news, what's going on in the States, UK, and all that kind of thing. Now we want to look at whether or not that news that I've talked about is reflected into the strength of each currencies, right? So it's really simple. What we need to do is that we want to look at all these column by column. If you've got very dark red or very dark blue, dark red means it's very, very weak. Dark blue means it's very, very strong. Okay, very bullish, very strong. So usually currencies that are very, very weak or expected to be very weak, you want to sell that currency. You want to sell what is weak. You want to sell what is not very good. So if you've got an old pair of shoes or car, for example, and you know that the car will still work, but then it's old, you may want to sell it out. Okay, so you want to sell what is weak, what is not very good anymore, and you want to buy what is strong. So this is how the market works. And then here on this map here, we look at all these currencies here, and all these currencies here are said to be very, very weak against the USD. When all these ones here are very weak, euro is very weak against the USD, that means USD is very strong. Okay, so that actually matches with what we have talked about earlier on. So USD is still on the upside at the moment. So you want to buy the US dollar. You want to look into buying, not buy right now, not go into your platform and then click the buy. No, not yet. Okay, so we just want to have the first stage first to know that, okay, we may have a longer period of time to actually buy the dollar. So we want to look for trading opportunities concerning the dollar, so that you don't be on the wrong side of the market. You want to be on the right side of the market, meaning that the US dollar is on the strong side. So we want to be clicking onto the buy button for buying the dollar, not selling the dollar, because the trend is on the upside for the dollar at the moment. Okay, so here we've got all these rows. Now I would love to see rows that are all dark blue or all dark red. Now here it's a lot of mix, so we don't look at the CHF at the moment, we look at the USD. So loads of currencies are very weak against the dollar, so the dollar is very strong. If we go individually by currencies, you can see that the USD is very, very strong against the euro. That means euro, you need to read it like a book from the left to the right, right? USD is very strong against the euro. That's what it means. USD is very strong against CHF. USD is also strong, very strong against the NZD, but it's stronger from the daily chart. D is daily chart, 4H, 4-hour chart, weekly chart, monthly chart. Okay, that's what the whole rows are. Okay, so we go column by column. So what we can actually do right now is then I would list it down, euro versus the USD, for me to monitor further in the in um, in the charts. Okay, so you've got euro versus USD, you've got USD CHF as well, USD CHF. So I'll put an arrow down for euro USD because euro is weaker than the USD, right? USD slash CHF, USD an arrow up because USD is on the upside. Okay, so then we proceed a little bit, and then you can see again euro very weak against the USD. This is under euro, and then JPY CHF. So JPY is very strong against the CHF. So CHF is very weak. So if we look into the pair CHF JPY, you want to draw an arrow down because CHF is weak, JPY is up. So you want to buy the JPY, but you want to sell the CHF. Okay, so CHF is your Swiss franc. Okay, now we have got CHF, USD CHF as well. So USD is strong. So you want to put an arrow up, USD CHF on the upside. Okay, so USD on the upside, CHF on the downside. CHF is very weak against the USD. And we have got CAD versus the AUD. So AUD, CAD, AUD, CAD. Remember we've mentioned about how Australian dollar is weak because of China's situation. So it's still picking up in China. Hence the reason Australian dollar is still picking up as well. So Australian dollar is very weak. CAD is very strong against the AUD. Okay, so AUD, CAD, an arrow down because AUD is weak and CAD is strong. So it's the same here, AUD weak against the CAD. All right, so this is just a sort of generic outline to actually choose and pick out some currencies like the Euro USD on the downside, USD CHF on the upside, CHF JPY on the downside, USD CHF on the upside, and AUD CAD on the downside. Now, all these, I am not going to just go onto my platform and click and buy and sell, and click and buy and sell. No, not yet. If you do that, most chances are that you might be on a floating too early or too soon. Okay, so we want to just look at the timing first. The timing of when to enter and when to exit the market depends on the technical analysis side of it, which I will share with you guys right now. Okay, so all right, any questions so far? Anything that I've mentioned not very clear, perhaps you want to ask, and feel free to ask. Okay, any questions, guys? You guys are okay? So far, so good. Okay, looks like so far so good. Okay, now I've got another tool, another heat map here, and that's from Forex Early Warning. Thank you, Alfred. Good. Okay, so here, for example, we have a heat map, and the heat map separates another form of heat map, like the one that we've seen earlier on. Okay, this one here is a subscription monthly, not very expensive. It's just about $20, if I'm not mistaken, and I've been using this for a long time. This company has been around for about 15 years. Okay, so they, a lot of hedge fund traders, big traders, small traders, they all use this system here, and it's quite good. It's quite sharp. It tells me, trend also with the bars that you can see. If it's a short bar, like this one here, Euro CHF, that means it's green. If it's green, it's for buying. That means a lot of people are buying it or selling. Selling it is for the red ones, bullish or bearish as well. What's the trend like? Now, for example, like Euro/USD in the Asian session, a lot of people have been selling the Euro and buying the USD. So that matches again with what we've talked about. And now in the European session as well, we see a lot of selling of the Euro and buying of the dollar. Okay, so we can see that it's quite interesting to know that even in this heat map here, we can see that USD on the upside and Euro is on the downside, GBP downside, Australian dollar downside, and the one that has the longest bar here shows that the participation is a lot. Okay, so there's a lot of people are liking to trade, and they are actually selling the Euro USD now and the GBP USD as well as buying the USD CHF. So a lot of the pairs that we've talked about earlier on is already listed down now. So we've talked about monitoring and looking at Euro USD, USD CHF, CHF JPY, USD USD CHF. I put here twice. AUD CAD, of course. Let me just check one more here. GBP USD as well is on the downside. So GBP USD. Now, the ones that has a lot of selling in Asia today, earlier today, was all the pairs against the JPY. Okay, they were selling a lot, but then there's not much opportunity for us to do the same in Asian session, in the European session, like for now. Why? Because look at all the bars. It's not as long and as good, as strong as the ones in the Asian session. So we want to look at high bars only, bars that are long only. That means there's a lot of people are trading it because you want volatility, you want liquidity as well. You want a lot of participation in the market. You don't want to go into a market in the European session now, like against the JPY here, not a good idea at the moment because this participation is too little. You don't see the bar really long as well. Okay, we've got questions. Very good. Yes, 24/5 heat map. It has to be, yes, Mondays to Friday. When the Forex market is closed, they don't have the live feed, so they don't operate. That you need to look at it only from Monday to Fridays. It's repeating only because it's live feed. This one here works very differently from the action forex. That actually means it's very sensitive to transaction. So the transactions and the volume, it's not overlapping. It's just giving you the latest one at the very top, the latest one at the top. Yeah. Yes, because the European session at this moment of time, it's updated, as you can see, next reset, and then the current time. So it's actually live feeds. There's no delay actually. If the one in Action Forex, it's got some delays, maybe 1 hour, 2 hours, maybe 3, we don't know of the delay time. But here we don't have that delay. So it will just come out as it is sensitive to what's going on in the market. It just comes up. Yeah, and that's basically it. So here, for example, if you have got arrow, you've got an arrow up or an arrow down in both sides. That means it's giving you a very clear, high probability signal for that pair. Okay, if you got arrow only on one, okay, it's just okay only. But if you've got arrow on both sides for the same currency, then it's quite high in the probability. Especially if you have done the technical analysis as well, and then you see the arrow up on the Asian session, arrow up on the European session for one particular pair, and then you do your technical analysis, and then 1 hour, 4 hour, and daily shows very strong trend as well, then you are actually in a very high probability trade. Okay, so at this moment of time, what's going on is, the way I look at it is that the Asian session is closing down. You see all the bars are getting shorter. It's like closing shop like that. Okay, but then it's transferring to the European session, and it's giving a lot of opportunity, especially with the USD pair. So we want to look at how strong. Maybe trading majors will be quite good today, and also trading the euro pairs as well. So the euro crosses and the USD crosses would actually be much better, because you see all the long bars, you see a lot of participation, you see a lot of traders and investors going in to trade them. So we need to check on the trend on the technical analysis side of it. So yeah, the rest not yet. Okay, so what we do next is, let's look at the majors. Majors are any pairs that are combined with the US dollar. So you've got the USD JPY, Euro USD, AUD USD, NZD USD, USD CHF. All these ones are called the majors, because it looks like the majors are probably better to look at, whether or not they've got strong trend, what is the current status at the moment, and things like that. Okay, so now we can move a little bit to the technical side of it, which is technical analysis. Okay, and then we start to look into the pairs. Okay, let's look into AUD USD, for example, still dropping right there. I have chosen about 6-7 pairs, I think, yesterday, from GBP NZD right to the Euro NZD as well, and various other pairs. But then I just want to recap the signal that I have shared with you guys on GBP NZD. So GBP NZD was a buy signal yesterday, and I think some of you guys have already hit your take profit, if I'm not mistaken. If you have already gone in early, I entered only at 96.30, so I wanted to take it at 96. Let me just check. 96. 96.60, I think, was my take profit, only about 30 pips or so. And yeah, it already hit my take profit on that as well, with 30 pips, if I'm not mistaken. So I traded at one lot. One lot basically means $10 for every little movement or pip. Yeah, so 30 pips, 30 times 10, that's $300. So I made about 300, maybe a little bit under $300, mainly because of the what do you call that, spreads and things like that. But $300 there on GBP and ZD, and that was only on pending order. So we didn't need to actually monitor the market, look at it and stuff like that. You can just let it go. You can just put a pending order, analyze it already, and then put a pending order. So that was a nice $300 profit if you are trading on one lot. And that's basically, I think, in a matter of about less than an hour or so. You know, it was moving quite fast, and then it got that $300. So it was a good trade on GBP and ZD. AUD and ZD, let me just also go on to Euro USD, so that we can actually see what are the opportunities on Euro USD. Now, Euro USD, I have actually monitored Euro USD, and it was since 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, and I have actually discovered a very nice pattern for the Euro USD. So what I have seen is that it has already given me the signal of wanting to fall quite a lot already. Now, because of the strength of the dollar, and then things that are not very good with lockdown measures of the COVID in Europe as well will actually pull down the euro quite a lot. So because I expect the euro to be really weak and then the USD to be really strong, if we combine the euro and USD, then you want to sell the euro in order to buy the US dollar. So this is quite a good chance for us to actually ride on the trend. Now, this is where I want to share with you live signal. This is on our live account. Okay, this is live account of bkfx.io, and we can actually look at it together. And what are the pairs? What are the trading opportunity here in selling the euro USD? Okay, so here, for example, at this very moment of time, we are looking at the price for euro USD at 1.1815. Now, 1.1815 is not really a good price to sell now. Okay, why you want to sell? Because if you are in a bearish market downtrend, you want to sell the euro. Okay, the more euro falls, the more money you will make. But then the timing is not exactly that right yet. Why? Because don't get too excited when you see something falling. When you see something falling, you need to always ask yourself, where could it potentially go up? Okay, let's look at the 4-hour chart. What I have seen is a potential Z pattern, which basically shows me that it can actually fall quite a lot. But it doesn't mean that you need to leave your trade open right now and then just sell, and then it will definitely just go as you want it to go. It doesn't work like that. It might be a zigzag, but then that zigzag, as it goes down, it will zigzag up, right? That upward move, we don't know how far would it actually go, because that upward move will be against your direction, and that may actually cause you to float. Now, you don't want the floating, the negative floating or at loss to actually prevent you from trading other pairs, okay? So you want to limit your timing properly to enter the market. Now, 1.1817. 1.1817 goes down and down and down, it will meet the 1.1800. So there is some space to go down to 1.1800. Now, there is a very likely chance for it to bounce up at 1.1800 psychological level as well. Now, what we need to do is always to look to the left, exactly like crossing a very busy highway. You need to look right, you need to look left. You look right to look at the price, you look left to look at the previous movement, whether or not these sellers right now, will they be overtaken by previous buyers? So we want to look to the left, okay? And we want to look at, follow the price right now, this very thin horizontal line, and you want to go to the left. Go to the left very slowly, take your time, don't rush. And you want to see whether you've got some support area. We have had some support area, meaning that this was an area before, a couple of years ago, or a couple of months, doesn't matter. It has actually gone up from the price right now. It has actually pushed price all the way up here. So we have got support here, we've got support here, we've got some support here. So this is an area that we need to draw some lines in order for us to see where the support is. You've got some line there. Okay, maybe I'll just put it there. Okay, so right now the price is trapped between some support area. Okay, so how do I know whether or not I should actually be entering the market right now or not? At the moment, the answer is not to enter the market right now. The price is not right as well. A good selling price will be 1.1810 or 1.1790 after it has gone down a lot more. After it has actually gone down and under the two blue lines, then you know that it has got more chances to go down more. But then not just now, because what if you enter now, you sell, and then anywhere now it could actually bounce up. Now, I'm giving you the idea that it could bounce up anytime at 1.1800 or even sooner. So let's look at that line. Let me draw another line for you. So we'll draw another line at 1.1800 because that is where the risk is, okay? So 1.1800. This is your psychological level. So there may be a chance for it to come down. Now, a lot of traders out there will actually be overly excited, right? So you will actually want to sell and you will say that, oh, look at the candles, it's actually going down. And a lot of people are selling. So I think it's downtrend. So let me go and click on the sell. So immediately after you click on the sell, there may be a chance that the price will go up. Now, it's not that the market is watching you and things like that. It's because you have not watched the market carefully or closely. If you watch the market carefully, this is already an area that it could bounce. So it may actually bounce from that area onwards. So we can only monitor that, and whether or not it happens or not, we don't know and we cannot guarantee. But high chances is that you shouldn't actually enter a sell right now. It's not a good idea. It may actually bounce up, come down here, and then start to bounce up in any one of these blue lines, either at 1.1806 area or 1.1800 area. Okay, so for me personally, I wouldn't want to enter the market to sell the Euro USD now, but I may actually do a pending order at 1.1790. That means under the 1.1800 area. Okay, and then we will look into TPs as well in your pending order. When you do a pending order, it's much better because then you don't get trapped in the market as well. And you can go and drink a cup of tea, go and have food, go out and do anything you want. And basically, you just leave your trades on pending, but also to arrange your stop loss level, how much pips you want to make, how much pips you're willing to lose, and stuff like that. Okay, so that's basically the way to actually trade if you want to plan your trade in advance and do your other stuff. Yeah, you know, and so you don't need to actually be in front of the screen all day. Now, the other thing I want to mention as well is that we have got several bearish candles under the two blue lines, okay? Bearish mother candles, we call it, which are very long candles like this. I will highlight them. Give me a second. Okay. Let's see whether we've got some more. Okay. Now, if you look at all these samples of previous mother candles in the past, that shows some selling power in the past, okay? So what it shows me is that all these big selling or big sellers enter the market quite late, okay, under the blue two lines, okay? Let me just show you. Okay. See under the blue two lines right here, because I wouldn't trade right now and I want to wait until the price go under. Give me a second, the questions. Okay. So I see that where I have actually highlighted, oops, there you go. I see all these big candles. Basically, we've got some more right here. Got some big candles here as well. Okay, this one here. I just want to look at all this selling power under the blue line. Okay, it's most important is to look at under the blue line. So under the blue line, yes, we've got some selling here, some selling here, some selling here, but the big selling, big longer selling were actually under the two lines, which took place a little bit later. Like, for example, like this one was at 1.1789. So 1.1770 will actually be a better momentum to sell. So maybe we never know. Later, when the price reaches 1.18, 80 and then go down to 1.1770, area, I think it would actually be more selling power, because I see all the selling power has actually concentrated at the 1.1790 onwards, right down. Okay, so in other words, 1.1800 and under, then you can see more volume. But then to be actually safe, and to not only safe, to actually have got more opportunities to sell, I think the sellers and investors will come in a little bit later once price has reached 1.1790 area. So I want to look at what happens when price start falling much more, whether or not it reaches 1.1790 area. And if it does, and then it start falling more, then I would be more confident to take more trades and increase my lot size as well. Maybe I used to trade, well, let's say one lot, and I can maybe look at the trend and look at all this selling power and increase it to two lots, or maybe open up two trades as well and take 30 pips at one time, 40 pips at another time. So that is what we mean by timing. So the timing has got to do with the price, has got to do with the trading volume and the participation of the traders at the time. So at this moment of time, yes, a lot of sellers are coming in. But for us as traders, we want to hunt properly in timing and with patience and discipline as well. So at this moment of time, you just need to wait. You can actually do a nice pending order on it. Like I've mentioned, 1.1790 area, and then see what happens and see whether that gets triggered. Because once it gets triggered lower, it's you are in a better place and more chances to actually get that trade and not have it reverse, because it has actually got more and more participation. It's like a party. If you've got 5, 10 people coming in, it's easier to close the party and not let other people come in. But if you've got hundreds of people already in the house, it's out of control. Whoever comes in after that as well, you cannot tell them not to come in. So that is basically how it works in the forex market as well when it comes to selling or buying. Okay, all right, good. So any questions, guys? Any questions concerning your trades at this moment of time? Any questions? No questions? You guys are very quiet. You guys can ask me anything that's not making any sense, or you want to learn about something. Okay, yes, we can. Alfred, GBP USD and GBP JPY. Let's look at GBP USD and GBP JPY. A second. GBP NZD is here. Let's change that to GBP JPY. GBP, I think I've got GBP USD here. No. Okay, so GBP JPY, Australian dollar GBP USD. Second. All right. So we have got, let's just put this aside. Okay, let's take a look at GBP JPY. Let's start off with the 1-hour chart. Okay, now in terms of trend as well, first we need to look at the trend side of it. We have chosen Euro USD, USD CHF, CHF JPY, GBP USD is part of it as well on the downside. But I have no GBP JPY at the moment, because when we did the analysis earlier on the fundamental, doesn't give us the GBP JPY yet, but it did give us the GBP USD. So let's take a look at GBP USD first, okay? Because we want to write the trend of what is hot at the moment and what's happening at the moment. Let's start off with the 1-hour chart. So as you guys have seen, the JPY is already on the strong side, GBP is on the downside. Let's double check that a little bit more, okay? So we've got, let me refresh this one here. let's look at, because GBP USD is also a better pair to look at right now compared to the GBP JPY, mainly because of USD strength as well at this moment of time. So then if we, because that was also signaled to us by the heat maps, right? So GBP right here, you see, you've got that, not too bad, it's good. And GBP, let's go back to GBP. And you can see it's quite mixed on the GBP pairs at this moment of time. But yes, it's still on the bearish side here. But I would prefer for it to be all, dark red. And let's see GBP here. If you go on to here and look at the GBP pairs, you can see that the Asian session was more active, longer bars compared to the European session. Then you can see that GBP USD, the participation has gone down. Okay, that means less people are selling. There were a lot of people selling GBP USD, and maybe it's exhausting right now. So let's see whether or not that is true in here. Okay, so in the chart, GBP USD, whether the trend is down for sure, but is it timing for you and me and all the traders to enter now to sell? This is what we want to actually look at. So here, for example, 1 hour chart looks quite nice, okay? Meaning that the three lines are separated going down and all the candles are under all the three lines. This is a good sign that it is on a downtrend. Then we need to compare the 4 hour chart and the daily chart. Now, if we go into the daily chart, what happens is that the daily chart, the three lines start to get jumbled up, starts to entangle themselves. So that actually means from the 1 hour to the 4 hour, the downtrend may not be that clear for me at this moment of time. Maybe it's going to correct itself. We don't know, right? So the other thing as well is we need to look right and we need to look left because we're crossing the highway of the currency market at this moment of time. So when we look to the right, we look at the price 3685. Now 85, problem is that the price is going down. It might actually bounce up at the 3680 area. Okay, so I will just keep you guys aware of the place that it might actually go up. So don't sell anything on the GBP USD yet. It probably is a better time a bit later, not yet. Okay, so 3680, okay, is the line in which it might actually bounce up somewhere there. So you can see that the candle itself is weakening already. So where do we actually sell? We'll sell 10 pips under the 3680. So I'll draw the line at 3670 as well. So 3670 and under would actually be a better price to actually sell. Okay, not now. It needs to break that zone first. So let me do that zone there. Okay, so you get a better idea. Okay, we've got a question here. Why trade on a host of currencies? Why not just concentrate on just the USD? Obviously, for more profit, but can be confusing for first timers like me. Okay, I'm not sure what you mean by concentrate on just the USD and the host currencies, because we are looking at where the traders and investors are putting on, and obviously you are always going to be trading in pairs, correct? And the pairs, for example, is made up of two currencies, but then we need to focus on the fundamental side of it. The fundamental side of it has got to do with certain economy and certain country. Like, for example, now the whole world revolves around things that are going on in the COVID situation. But then with the COVID situation, we have got a lot of geopolitics, economic and all that concerning the US at the moment. And also because last week it has some conflict with China, for example. So we are looking at US, right? So we're looking at US, and USD is the first and the largest economy of the world as well. And US dollar is used quite a lot. So we need to pair up USD with another currencies that are weaker because we are expecting the US dollar to be on the upside, right? So you need to actually follow the market, and we want to use tools like the heat map to tell us which pairs would actually be clear on the trend. So it's not about us wanting to pick in any way we like, but we need to actually pick according to the trend. The trend needs to actually be clear, and the market needs to tell us which pair is great to actually pick for today. Okay, so maybe you want to clarify that on the host of currencies. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Yeah. Okay. So meantime, while waiting for your comment on that. Oh, just check it. So yes, please comment on that I've mentioned earlier on, and so I can get better clarity of what you mean by host currencies. Okay, so here, for example, we have got the 36 89.90 area that the GBP USD is actually trending on. Now, for those who are interested in trading it on the sell side, obviously, you need to wait till price pierces through the two blue lines, and only then it will probably give us a better indication of how it would actually go down or not much more. Okay, we've got the response there. Why not USD and GBP only? Okay, let me just think. So you are saying why not? Why not what? Why not pick only USD and GBP? But this is what we're doing right now. We're actually focusing on USD and GBP. Which one? Are you talking about the list that I have actually given earlier on? Euro USD, USD CHF, CHF JPY. Are these pairs you're talking about? All right, okay. Now that's just the first stage. It doesn't mean that you have to trade on all that. Even I wouldn't be actually trading on that. What you are doing in the next stage is that we list down these ones because these ones are the ones that the other traders and investors are focusing on. But we want to list them down and want to look at whether or not for us, do we actually want to copy the other traders to actually go into trading them? But we might end up not. Why? Because in this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pairs, we need to do this analysis now, which is basically because GBP USD is one of those in that list. So we need to actually do a technical analysis, because what we did earlier on was a bit of a market analysis, right? I shared with you what goes on in the States and all that. And then you have to do a trend analysis. From the trend analysis was where we went into the heat map, and then we looked at which currencies are strong, which currencies are weak, and stuff like that. And then we collected some pairs, and then we came up with a list of 5. So in the list of 5, it's still not the currencies that we will end up trading, because we need to do this final stage right now, which is your technical analysis side of it. So once we have done the technical analysis side of it, we may end up trading either 1 or 2 or 3 or all 5 or not at all, depending on whether or not it is good for us to trade. Like, for example, we have picked now together through what Alfred has actually suggested, the GBP USD, which is one of it in the list. Okay, so with the GBP USD right now, we need to focus on whether or not we can trade the GBP USD. Now, in my opinion, right now, you cannot click onto the sell button right now. Why? Because it might weaken and it might actually bounce up because of different strategies that I share with you. Okay, so here, for example, it has actually been a bounce up of price from this area here in the past, and that was back in February. Okay, in February, price has risen from here right up there to 500 over pips. So we need to see whether or not the price at this moment of time would actually mirror that movement in the past. So I wouldn't actually be buying it or selling it, but I would check. I would probably be doing a pending order. A pending order can actually be at 1.3670. So only if prices go under and pierces through these two lines, then I've got more confidence that the price would actually fall a lot more. Okay. So at this moment of time, it's not about choosing a pair, accordingly to, I mean, in my experience of trading, we are not choosing pairs according to what we want. We're choosing pairs according to what has been moved by the market, by the bigger boys. We are actually riding the trend of the bigger boys and what they are actually trading. So most of the times I bump into a lot of traders who like to trade what they like to trade. Like, let's say they like to trade Euro USD. So they trade Euro USD every single day. Now, that would actually be missing out a lot of opportunities out there because the trend and the market is not being moved or created by us retail traders. We are a very little speck in the market. So you've got banks and political names and countries that actually create the entire market. So we need to look at where the flow is, and then we need to follow that flow and pick the pair that are moving or moved by them as well. Okay. All right, good. I hope that helped. Okay. Yuan. What do you mean by yuan fixed? You're talking about the Chinese currency, whether it's fixed? What do you mean by that? Okay. We've got good questions coming up. Keep up the good work on the questions. I like that. So yeah, uh, is fixed. So trading. Chinese yuan is fixed. Chinese yuan. We've got two Chinese currencies, right? We've got the offshore one, the CNH and the CNY, right? We've got the offshore one and the onshore one. So the onshore one that we are monitoring right now basically is very much politically and economically connected. So it is actually impacted a lot. When you talk about fixed or not fixed, I'm not sure what you mean. Is it the currency rate? So I don't actually trade the Chinese yuan, but then we use the Chinese yuan and the Chinese economy and all that to actually give us an idea of what is happening with the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar, especially. Okay. So we use it as an economic type indicator, fundamental analysis type, as opposed to any fixed rates of it. So we only use it as an indicator. We don't really use it for anything else. For me, especially. Yeah. Okay. Right. I hope that makes sense. As you can see for yourself, this is a live market analysis, and you can see that exactly at 1.3773670. You see it stopped there. You see that the body of the candle GBP USD just suddenly becomes smaller, and it doesn't want to go down a lot more. Why? Because it's respecting that area of support. It's respecting the psychological number of 1.3680 area. So if you want to actually trade and go on the sell side of GBP USD, you need to be very careful at this moment of time. You want to plan your sell. You want to plan your sell under the 3670, but you want to also look at whether or not you have any selling power. There was some selling power in the past, and it stopped at this area right here, okay, following the mother candle, right? So yes, you may have, I don't guarantee that, but you may, even the market wouldn't guarantee it. You may have some selling advantage or some selling opportunity from 3670 to maybe about 3640 or 3630. That's only about, anywhere between 15 to 30 pips only selling opportunity, in my opinion, because I think market wants to reverse first. Okay, it wants to reverse first, and it wants to sell at a higher price and then maybe go down. We don't know that. But then from what I see in GBP USD, there is no strong trend from 4 hour onwards. that matches with the 1 hour chart. It looks like the market wants to go up further. So there may be a bounce to the upside on the longer term for GBP USD to be on the upside. But then right now, the trend is simply not clear. So I wouldn't actually be trading the GBP USD at this moment of time because it's just not giving me that clear. Maybe for scalpers would actually be good because they can actually grab the market with smaller moves, smaller pips as well from time to time, and they can exit in time, but not for a trend trader like myself, okay, at this moment of time. Okay, we've got another question here. Most trades done on Western currencies. What about Asian currencies? Risky? It's risky for Asian currencies. I can tell you that. Why? Because you don't have enough liquidity, right? You don't have enough liquidity. So if you want to trade currencies, you need to look at volatility. Volatility is the lifeblood, and volatility is also a little bit of security as well. So if you've got Asian currencies, and Asian currencies are very low in liquidity, okay, compared to US dollar, compared to euro, compared to GBP, and if you want to trade that, it's going to be very limited as well. And you also have a very limited time. But if you are wanting to trade something Asian, it's probably better to trade Asian stocks, not Asian currencies. Okay. Also because the Asian currencies are very, it's risky and volatile, but doesn't have enough volume and enough liquidity. And it depends a lot on Wall Street and Europe and all that. And it can actually get quite disturbed and impacted. And then you will get trapped in trading Asian currencies also because of its stock situation as well. Now, you get risk in European currencies as well, but then you get to make money with the movement of the volume and the liquidity much more. That is why we have got a lot of Asian traders are trading European currencies, okay? And also because the European session, the transaction, you've got about almost 5 trillion a day traded in Forex currency, right? But then the largest, biggest, most active market is London, Europe, US. It's not in Asia for currencies, okay? For commodities, the highest is the commodities trading in commodity Chicago, mercantile trading, that is in Chicago. For New York, they cover equities, but for Forex, it's actually covered in London the most. So then London, Europe, US, this is where the volume is. So it's always better to trade where the most volume is, okay? All right, I hope I answered your question there. So Mr. Kunan, you can plan for a short-term buy for those who wants to anti-trend trade. Yes, you can do that, but you want to also look to the left whether or not you have some buying power, because the problem with it is that both trend is not strong, both trends not clear at the moment, whether it's uptrend, bullish or bearish. At the moment, it is biased to the downside, but at the same time, it looks like it might actually be going sideways a little bit. So for it to go sideways, yes, it can be short-term scalping, can be range trading. For those of you who know how to range trade, that will be appropriate to do, not trend trading at this moment of time. So when I say trend trading, there's just no trend at this moment of time, no clear trend at this moment of time. So trend traders may take a back seat and relax a little bit, but those scalpers and short-term traders, intraday traders, and range traders, they can actually apply their techniques and all that to actually start on the buy side of it. Yes, it's possible. Okay. Singapore dollar is one of the strongest dollar. You're from Singapore, I think, is it? So Singapore dollar, yes, it's good to actually trade. It's not too bad actually in terms of its strength, because it is quite close to the dollar in a way in terms of the economic relations and everything else. But it needs to be experimented as well, meaning that you need to try it to see how it is for you to trade Singapore dollar versus the dollar, or Thai baht versus the dollar. You need to have all these currencies and you start trading them for 1 week, 2 weeks, and try and look at whether or not it is satisfactory for you as a trader in terms of the profitability of it. Okay, and in terms of the analysis of it as well, whether or not it is sharp, whether or not it is actually good. If it is working well for you to trade, maybe you pick four currencies, let's say, right? Maybe you pick the rupiah against the dollar, Malaysia ringgit against the dollar, Singapore dollar against dollar, Thai baht against the dollar, let's say, right? And then you start trading them. When you trade them in about a week and a half and all that, you will start to realize which one is better to actually trade, because not all the ones are actually very close to the European session and the London session and all that. I would think that the Singapore dollar versus the dollar is better out of all the 4 or 5 Southeast Asian currencies, is better to trade that only because of its economic thingy. Even the ringgit is also not too bad, but then you want to experiment it first, and then you see in terms of profitability whether or not the market is moving quite good on these currencies, and then you are really making money compared to like Euro USD, GBP USD and all that, and you see that, oh, it's good, then you actually can have that in your portfolio and start trading it. But if it's not, it's slow and it's not really that good, then you have to forget about the Asian currencies. But it's good to experiment first. Maybe pick 4, maybe 3, 4, experiment it in live trading, and then you will see whether it's good. Because the other problem that you might face is that it may not be easily available in all the brokers. Okay, because brokers usually they want to also have high liquidity type currencies as well. So that's why. Okay, all right. I hope I answered that. No problems. Okay, good. So I think that's all I have got for you guys. Any more questions before we end the session for today? Questions? No questions at all. All good. Okay, I didn't get to the GBP JPY only because I think at this moment of time it's a little bit early as well. Let's wait for the London Open, and then you will get better what do you call that, clarification of the market, the clarity of the market. Okay. All right, guys. That's all I've got for you guys on this Wednesday's preview. But then we will be in touch at any moment of time, especially from the GTI Group Telegram. Those of you who directly messages me as well, no problems. For those who wants to email me, you can actually email me at Bretton at kenny.simon at bretton.academy. Okay, Bretton.academy. So not .com or anything, it's just at Bretton.academy. So it's kenny.simon, KENNY.SIMON. Okay, I will give out the, let me just write it down. Give me a second. I'll share that in the chats as well, but let me just do that to all. So my email is kenny.simon at Bretton, BRETTON dot. Okay, there you go. And you can reach us at the Facebook Bretton Financial Trading Academy Facebook page as well. You can type us messages there, and we'll monitor it and come back to you on any questions. Okay, guys, that's it. That's all I have for today. And meantime, on a daily basis, I'll be sharing exact trade ideas. I'll make special videos from time to time. If I find that I am trading something and I have the entry, the exit, and the stop loss, I'll be posting that into the groups. Okay. All right, guys, take care. Thank you very much, and have a good pipping day. Take care. Bye-bye.